It's official. The government shutdown is now the longest in U.S. history. You'd think everyone involved would be working around the clock to end the crisis, but some Democrats have other priorities. There we are. This picture of disgraced New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez. You saw him on Swamp Watch here. I enjoyed that one. Accepting a drink from a bikini-clad server in Puerto Rico. Menendez is one of roughly 30 Democrats who flew to the Caribbean. See, we had a debate about this. So one of my sons has kept his English accent, and the other one, sorry for this digression, is gone all American. And literally yesterday we were talking in the car about, is it Caribbean or Caribbean? I'm sorry, I went with Caribbean, so sorry, Ben. Anyway, there we are. They're having fun in the Caribbean. And this crisis, it's of course there are so many angles to it, but I do think it's important to start with the human aspect, Tomi, of the fact that, you know, you've got these people who work for the government, whatever our views on whether the job they do is useful or not useful, we want to cut government or whatever, it's real people who are now really suffering.
Of course it's real people, but again, I want to allude to the image that we saw because you can never really unsee that. So thanks for showing the world that, because I'm sure we all wanted to see it. I'm waiting for Nancy Pelosi's bikini photos.
Oh my gosh.
But that's for another time. Maybe she'll go to Puerto Rico next. But, you know, they were staying in hotel rooms that cost in excess of $400 a night. They're going to Hamilton Broadway shows. I mean, they're living it up. But in front of the cameras, they tell us how sad they are for the federal workers, and they cry and they moan, and it's all Trump's fault.
That's
and then
a good
they go
take on that.
party,
that's
and
right.
It's amazing what they can do when they're on camera.
The Trump supporters are the smelly folks in Walmart that I mentioned in the last segment, right? But we get to go to Puerto Rico. We have the pina coladas. And yeah, they might miss a paycheck, but we're still raking in the campaign money, by the way, because that's why they're there. They're there with lobbyists who are going to give them campaign money. So it's a whole swamp deal. And this is why I think the big picture is that the Democrats are the best thing going for the president right now. You had Nancy Pelosi in Hawaii at the beginning of the shutdown. You've got other Democrats like Menendez now in the Caribbean. And I think, you know, think about week one in the House of Representatives. They finally had power. What do? The MFR comment, the let's impeach him, let's abolish the Electoral College. I mean, that was only 10, 12 days ago. And we've already moved on to all these other stories. But right out of the box, the Democrats have laid a big egg.
So let's move to some kind of deal. We'll talk about the emergency thing in a second, but before that, short of that, the deal that might be done. What do you think a deal looks like, Charlie?
Well, the Democrats have to want to make a deal, and look, they're in a very tough predicament because a wall in the way that the president envisions it will harm their future political ambitions. They see that illegal foreign nationals entering the country, whether you call them line cutters or border jumpers or just illegal immigrants, whatever you call them, they see them as future voters. And even worse and more sinister, they see them as political talking points that, oh, look at these, you know, DACA 2.0. So for them, the wall is a problem.
But I just want to know what you, because I'm just really interested in your perspective and yours, Tomi. You don't speak for anyone but yourselves, but you know, in a certain sense, I think you would really understand the president's base and those supporters. What do you? How far do you think he can go? He's already made some.
Remember, he offered a DACA deal that was, some would argue, I would argue, more generous than even Obama did in exchange for wall funding.
So
and the Democrats didn't want it.
That simple deal, which a lot of people are talking about, DACA for the wall, are you both okay with?
Yeah, it would be, but it's not even a discussion point right now because they don't want the wall, and they don't understand the wall. They don't take the time to go and see the wall. They don't know what it looks like. They make fun of the fact that it's steel slats because they don't understand that that is the wall that the border agents want. At the end of the day, though, when you talk about what is a deal going to look like, I hope that this president holds firm because when you see his election and you see stadiums filled with people, they're chanting, build that wall for a reason. Many people voted for Donald Trump specifically for that reason. I'm worried about our chances in 2020 if he doesn't get it done. So I hope he recognizes that. I think he does. I think he's going to hold firm. Not $2 billion, not $3 billion, $5.7 billion or more is what we need, and I hope he holds firm until we get it.
Okay, and just one last thing on the test of whether he's done that. How are you measuring it? Is it literally a certain number of miles built, or that you just indicated maybe it's the money? I mean, what would you say? Right, he's done it. That's good enough for me.
It's the money to continue funding. I mean, many people don't understand. Like I've told you before, in San Diego, there is fencing. That landing mat fencing is being replaced as we speak. They are replacing it with old funds. They need more though to finish replacing that old landing mat style that the illegal immigrants are pushing down on a daily basis. They need to finish the wall. They need to add the more steel slats filled with concrete. They need to continue that progress and put wall where a wall wall is possible, and that will be success for this president.
And by the way, I want to make sure we put up on the screen, because Karl Rove had some really interesting data this week on the success of the wall that's been built over the last few years in reducing illegal crossings in various places: San Diego, El Paso, Tucson, Yuma. These were really big numbers in the reduction.
You know who had good data on that as well? Jim Acosta.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you see that
exactly.
tweet?
That was
his data was basically like, I'm standing in front of part of a wall, and it's really safe here.
Exactly
It's
right.
The word tranquil.
So he made the case pretty well. It's just
Make
like
the border tranquil again.
And also, I think there's an untold part of the shutdown story, which is that in previous shutdowns, you've heard this screaming of, oh my gosh, we can't live without government. And I know you talk about big government a lot. And this time, it's only a partial, it's not the whole government. But there's not that much of a hue and a cry about it. And I think the real Democratic fear is that maybe we can live without such a
By the
big
way,
government.
I just want to
it's not
shout out
impacting
to
as many people as they claim.
Shout out to someone, friend of ours, Kimberly Strassen in the Wall Street Journal. She had a really, really good detailed piece on the fact that the administration really prepared for the shutdown to make sure that that was the kind of reaction.
And as you mentioned, Steve, and you're absolutely right, we can't minimize the people who are going to miss a paycheck. This is a big deal. And if this drags on much longer, this is going to have real impact. But the idea that we can't live without this government, that really scares liberals, that all this federal spending, maybe there's some places to cut.
So I just want to get you all quickly on the emergency declaration question. I'm not much more time than for a yes or no.
I support it. Super quick point. We've seen very little polling this week from any of the media outlets intentionally. They're withholding polling data, in my opinion, because I think he's trending positively. Notice right after the Oval Office address, you did not see the snap polls you usually see. I think that the American people are coming more in this direction. That's why you've seen the absence of polling.
Right, so you'd say yes
to the national emergency. It's been an emergency for decades.
Tommy, critics would say, fine, it's a good statement, but it means the wall won't actually be built because of the legal challenges.
I think it's the message that's most important, and like anything from this president, the message to his base and to the American people is what's most important, and it is an emergency. So if it comes to that point and they won't come to the table, this president's going to do what it takes.
It might boomerang if you have a Democratic president, though. They're going to call national emergencies on socialized medicine, all kinds of things.
Very good. Thank you all.